Hi everyone.
Hey,
How's it going, Sohnia?
I'm doing well, Jaanuni. How are you?
Not too bad.
Fantastic. Welcome back to another episode of Beaker Bros. Today we have a very exciting, sort of different format style, if you want to call it, to how this podcast is going to run.
Yeah. We're actually going to be reacting to an interview that Sohnia had with a special guest star named Duncan.
Yeah, Duncan is a teacher within the Whitby area here in Ontario, and he has a wealth of experience and knowledge about just the education system, his experience teaching, and also recently within the Ontario education high school curriculum, there has been an emphasis on de-streaming. So specifically, it started with high school math, and what that is, we'll talk more about it in this interview and our reaction to it with our special guest, Rio, who's going to be remaining the ominous voice in the background for our videos per usual. But essentially within the Ontario high school curriculum, a lot of the courses, which initially started off with the math courses, they're divided into broadly the academic stream and the applied stream. And what's been going on within the past couple of years is the Ontario education system has combined the streams specifically for grade 9 math and a couple other courses now that they're opening up to within the next little bit. So we're just curious as to how that may impact students and how it may impact their learning, their ability to go on into university and the rest of their careers if they decide to pursue a post-secondary education. So this interview is going to be a reaction to Duncan's perspective and experiences, and you got anything to add to that?
I was going to say, I don't know if you mentioned this, but just to the viewers who are not in Ontario and who aren't really aware of the applied and academic stream, essentially applied and academic, it streams you to either take college courses or streams you to take university courses later on in your career. Yeah.
Cool. That's an important consideration. But yeah, we'll talk more about that in this interview and get everyone's perspective. So, on to the interview. Perfect. Okay, so to start off, can you briefly introduce yourself and your role with the Ontario education system?
My name's Duncan McIntyre. I'm a math teacher in Whitby, Ontario at a school called Anderson Collegiate. And I'm also a department head of mathematics in that school.
Very cool. And how long have you been, I guess, teaching then?
I've been teaching for about 24 years.
Okay, yeah. Wow. You've been with the system for a little bit then, huh?
So I'm a veteran, I guess.
Awesome. Okay. And then, so given your experience with teaching within the... Sorry, I'm going to pause for a second. So another thing to mention is Duncan was Rio's teacher in high school. What did he teach you?
Mathematics.
Math?
He actually wasn't my teacher, but
Oh, okay.
he was
a teacher that you knew.
He was him, yeah.
He was him.
He's him. Oh boy.
We'll let you know when we're done. Yeah.
That's cool. And back.
So given your experience with teaching within the education system, can you talk a little bit about the de-streaming process that the government of Ontario has sort of started implementing within the education system?
Yeah, so when we talk about streaming, we're talking about students making the decision to maybe head towards university or head towards a college pathway. And streaming meant students choosing whether to take an applied or an academic course at some point. And there was data that came out that showed a disproportionate number of racialized students who were being streamed into the applied, which led to the college levels, which meant less of those students going off to university programs. And so in order to combat that, the Ontario government de-streamed grade 9, which meant it delayed that choice of applied and academic until the grade 10 year.
I was going to jump in and ask, just from my personal experience of high school and then the data that he was mentioning and emphasizing racialized students, I'm kind of surprised that's the case, because at least the high school that we went to, I wouldn't say, I guess all the individuals would be considered racialized. I think it's an amalgamation of not just race and ethnicity, but also like the like with Markham, for example, where we grew up, that was a little bit more of a predominantly
like not just the racialized component, but
Yeah.
also a lot of students come from high income backgrounds or
Yeah.
higher income backgrounds and come from more stable households. So there is like a wealth of literature that does comment on that students across Canada, this isn't just not even across Canada, but like across the US, across Canada, the racialized students do have there is an association. So remember, association isn't causation, but there is an association with racialized students being more likely to pursue certain like college streams compared to university students.
Okay.
But again, that's not the case universally. So there is some nuance, and it'd be interesting to see the source that Duncan's citing here, because even like the literature that I'm talking about, there's a lot of like subgroup considerations in the analyses that were performed. But Rio, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think there is truth in what Duncan is. It feels weird to call him Duncan. Mr. McIntyre is saying. I don't know how the streaming works in your grade 8 year, but when I was in grade 8, the teacher had us or called us up and was like, "All right, where do you think you should go when you go to high school? You should be an applied or academic for this class." And students would answer one-on-one and say, "Oh, I think I'd be in this level." But then the teacher would have a sort of like persuasive.
Yep, I remember that too. Yeah.
And the teacher would be like, like if the teacher thought that you were an applied and you said academic, the teacher would be like, I don't know, maybe you should do applied. So,
which is really tough, because like I remember that very vividly from my grade 8 class. A lot to say about that time, but anyways, topic for another day. But yeah, no, like even like looking back actually to like my middle school, or the middle school that I was at, there was definitely like a disproportionate number of students from certain racial backgrounds that did, at least from my recollection, that went to like the college stream versus again, and it's not for like all people of color, but I did see like, or do recall specifically amongst like black students, those group of students were more likely to pursue like the college stream versus the academic stream.
Oh, cool.
And it's not for like any like particular, this is just from like my experience and my recollection of like grade 8 and transitioning into grade 9. But
I'm trying to think back to like grade 8, if we had a teacher to come in and be like, "Oh, what are you taking, academic or applied?" I don't know.
I guess different experiences then.
I'm trying to think. I can't really think back that far, but I feel like it makes sense. Like I feel like there is something of like, they tried to persuade you, like if you were choosing this, because I think when you had time to choose your courses for the year, like next year for high school, they kind of reviewed it and they're like, okay, maybe you should be thinking of doing that instead. Okay.
And I'm sure teachers at that time, they had good intent with what you're doing, but like we're all susceptible to implicit biases, so it's not completely fair to say like those teachers didn't know what they're doing.
100%.
Yeah.
But the high school that we went to is not a representation.
Yeah.
Even just like not at all.
It makes sense. Yeah.
So now the students, they just go into grade 9 math, and that's my math lens on it. They go into a grade 9 program where they don't have to choose whether they're taking applied or academic.
Gotcha. And can you explain a little bit then how the de-streaming process has been implemented within, I guess, your school specifically, but then also across Ontario? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think it started with math classes that went through that de-streaming process.
Yeah, so it went into two directions. Math and some other, math was first, you're right about that. Math was, a new curriculum was written, so it was the math de-streamed curriculum. And it was implemented, I think, in like the September of 2020. And so we had a year of that. And then other subjects were de-streamed in two ways. One was a de-streamed curriculum where they wrote a new curriculum. And then the other way was they offered only the academic course. So it was an inclusive academic program where all students were taking the academic program that was previously only accessed by the students who had chosen the academic. So it was a two-pronged attack. But yeah, we did that first that year of 2020.
Gotcha. And
Sorry, I was gonna just jump in, and I don't know if you guys know. I just have a question of like, why did they start with math? Like, why was math the subject that they started to de-stream?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Was it just like at math? Like, is there any like literature out there?
Well, I feel like math is the course that everyone is in, like, everyone takes math. No
Yeah.
student is exempt from taking grade 9 math.
Yeah.
So that could be a reason. I don't know, Rio, if
I have no idea why it was math first.
that could have been a question that we asked, but
Just curious.
to clarify then, so it was sort of like one stream was mixed, if you will. Was that in terms of there being both academic and applied students within that cohort of students, and then they can choose after to split off?
Yeah, exactly. So to be honest, it was a big change for the high school teachers, but for the students, it looked just like grade 8, right? They were with all of their peers that they had been with all through elementary school. And elementary school, a grade 8 classroom would have had a mixture of abilities as well. So it just continued that into high school. And I guess the benefit of that was that students only had to worry about the new high school environment, like new peers, new friends, new building, new routines, but they didn't have to give much anxiety towards what course am I choosing.
Wait, question. So the de-streaming process was eliminating academic and applied.
for grade 9.
So they didn't de-stream university and college that you would take in grade 11 and grade 12, like
No,
those courses.
just the. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so that you still had, at least currently, you still get to choose university or college. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, so then now that students are more or less combined into at least for the grade 9 curriculum, combined into sort of the same cohort of their peers, have you noticed any changes in student performance and engagement compared to the past 2 years versus when you were teaching earlier on and there wasn't those like combined classes?
Now that's an interesting question because we started de-streaming in 2020, which was when we were just coming back into school from COVID. And so we were doing things like hybrid classes. We had half of a class in person when the other half was virtual. And so that combined with the de-streaming really was difficult. And I would say student performance dropped in that time, but I don't think it was because of the de-streaming. I think it was because of the external factors. This year, for example, our de-stream classes, I think they're going very well. You still see a wide range of abilities, but the students are performing at the same level, if not better than they were doing before. And I think we've adjusted some of our techniques and some of our assessment strategies to prepare for the different levels of students that we have.
That's interesting. I'm thinking I forgot the point I was going to make. Oh, I remember. My phone dropped. I'd be interested in seeing. So, essentially, from what I garnered from this is the long-term implications can't really be assessed just yet because there was the nuances of COVID and how that impacted learning, and so it feels like 2023 and 2024 are like the first like main years where we're seeing like from what it sounds like it seems like 2023 2024 are like the first like couple of years where we could see the implications of de-streaming. It'd be really interesting. Obviously, we can't really see that now, and I'm not sure what data exists surrounding this, but like the long-term implications, because man, I can't, especially within like inner city kids and areas where attention cannot be given to students as much as they need to. There's, I don't know, from like at least from my experience, there was always this notion of like no child left behind, but I don't know, with like the amount of students that are in each classroom and the pace that teachers may have to go at because of circumstances that they're in to get in this new curriculum for all their students so they're prepared for the next year. I can't help but wonder the students that may be falling through the cracks, and whether or not we're not able to see that just yet, but what the long-term implications may look like.
I agree, but I'm curious because, okay, Rio, correct me if I'm wrong, just because I know the Ontario education system has changed quite a bit since like we've left high school or even like elementary schools, but even though the class sizes have increased, the number of teachers or even like teacher assistants, like now there's like teachers, but there's also teaching assistants that are more or less in classes now.
Teaching assistants?
Or what are they called?
Supply?
No, I mean it's an elementary school thing, but at least in the Hamilton like district school board that I was in, I was volunteering. I was working at an after school program, but every classroom had like, what was it called? Like another teacher, essentially. You had your main teacher, then you had another teacher to help students that might have been falling behind.
Maybe that's school board specific, but
Yeah.
I know for a fact that is not universally offered.
Yeah.
Like, just, I don't know, like friends that I have that have gone to different schools that are specifically from like different backgrounds and lower income backgrounds, that is not a reality.
I was curious if it is like right now, like if there's any changes right now, because I know like our time, like that's probably completely.
I don't
not.
know. At the placement I'm at, I haven't seen that. In my high school experiences, I haven't seen that, so it might just be a demographic. Like
Okay, that makes sense.
different schools.
Yeah.
But
I was just curious too, because I'm like, it makes sense because there are going to be students left behind at the pace that students are going, so it is important to like kind of wonder what the long-term effects are there. But I was wondering if they're doing this de-streaming process, are they supplementing other resources or individuals to help with that? But
That's an important consideration. Yeah. But from at least Duncan's experience, it seems like things are going okay. So
yeah.
So I guess that's good to hear. Do you have anything to add?
Oh, I was gonna say another consideration is, I guess the students that want, like the students that are overachievers and want like a higher level of education. Like I know in my old high school there was a gifted program, but I know like not a lot of schools offer that. Even like IB programs, AP programs, not all schools offer that.
Yeah.
So the students that go to those schools, like the teacher will have to accommodate to their needs as well, not just
That's a
the
good
other
point.
students. Yeah.
Like it's, I don't know, like for the greater good, if we want to think of like the overall implications, like being able to bring students to like a similar baseline is great, but then the outliers are not like represented in this.
Yeah.
And their needs may not be met in the way that they should, but then it's also an issue of like resource allocation and whether or not that's feasible. But yeah.
Can you talk a little bit then what those techniques were?
Yeah, so when you have a class where you know you've got different abilities, the starting point that you introduce something with, you've got to make it accessible to everyone. So you have to start with sort of an open concept, excuse me, so that everyone can get on board, can understand the topic, and then you can increase the difficulty from then. So we've done that, as well as adjusting some of our assessment strategies, working with, in Ontario, we have what's called a triangulation of data. So we look at products, which is tests, quizzes, things like that. But we also look at student performance in the classroom through conversations and observations. So that's the idea that if I can sit in my class, watch a student at the back of the class solve an equation on a whiteboard, that's just as valuable as a student handing in to me a quiz where they've solved an equation. So me seeing the student do it.
That's great to hear, because I know, like for me personally, I'm not a test taker, have never been. I struggle with tests. It's like an anxiety-inducing situation for me. So I don't know if that's like if how long that system has been in place, but it's great to hear that there is, I guess, nuance to the marking strategies that are used.
they're moving towards that right now. They're moving towards more, like, for those formative assessments, like tests, quizzes, and like things that you physically submit. They're moving towards grading students based on their conversations with one another, rather than the traditional methods. Just because they're like what Mr. McIntyre said, it is valuable information as well, because it does show their like evidence of learning as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Give me a mic and I will blabber about anything, but make me write a test? No.
No, fair.
It tells me that they understand how to do it. I don't need to necessarily get a hard copy of their work on a piece of paper.
Interesting. Okay. Well, it's interesting to hear, though, that at least performance doesn't seem to have been affected negatively because of this change. I would have assumed that there might have been like a decline in overall class average or something like that. But it's interesting to hear it's been relatively consistent, not looking at, I guess, the effects of COVID. So that's cool.
Yeah, and I think if you're just looking at pure numbers and averages, the averages probably have gone up, maybe because the D-stream curriculum might be considered slightly easier than the academic was. So that's helping some of the averages as well.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. Just the way that I like went to the screen and I was like attentive. I thought that was funny. The rest of it.
Okay, and just to wrap up this conversation here, this is a question that we don't have noted on our list of questions here, but just out of curiosity, do you ever see a education system within Ontario where the entire high school curriculum is de-streamed? So all the students are under sort of the same boat and it's no longer academic and applied, it's just one collective cohort?
I don't think so, simply because at some point students want to specialize, and the sort of a one size fits all approach would be doing a disservice to students who are really focused on, let's say I want to be a nurse, or let's say I really want to go into be a mechanic, or I'm interested in a nuclear technician program. All these different pathways. It would be very difficult to provide a wide-ranging program that meets everyone's need, where what's happening now in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, they start to specialize and take courses that help them prepare for their post-secondary education. To do it otherwise, I think it would be difficult, and I don't know if you would be able to prepare the students as well for post-secondary.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, just reflecting back on my high school experience, I was in high school from 2014 to 2018. So just, I don't know, looking back at my experience and wondering how it might have been if at least grade 9 was de-streamed. It's an interesting little thought to see how that might have impacted my my education, I guess. But very cool. All right, well.
Yeah, it's been.
So I'm just gonna jump in because we went to the same high school. I can't remember. I'm trying to think back to it, but did we have more individuals in academic or more I felt like we had more individuals. Again, our high school is not representative of high schools in general.
We just had a lot of keeners.
Yeah.
And a lot of like South Asian students.
Yeah.
Which isn't like, just because like the Markham demographic that we grew up in, that's like what it was. But anyways.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I felt like, to me, I never really thought about it in that process, because it just seemed like, okay, majority went to academic, you went into academic. And so...
No, a lot of people went to applied.
See, that's what I'm saying, like, I was trying to think back to my experience, I was like, oh, just like the people I knew. Everyone was like, not maybe everyone, but I'm trying to think.
Okay, maybe it's just like the people that I hung out with then, and we'll bleep names or just like cut this part out, but like...
How many people were in our graduating class?
I don't know, maybe like 100?
Yeah, I felt like...
I would say...
100?
Yeah, we probably had like 500 people in the school.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a lot or...
That's a little. I thought mine was small.
100 seems like... Oh, she is way behind us. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay,
Okay. Well,
And back.
we had to move our previous room because we got kicked out, but we'll continue from here.
And it's been a challenge for this teachers to implement based on the timing of it and the speed at which the curriculum came out. But I think we've done a good job. I'm hearing that from across different schools in the area, and the students seem happy and they seem successful. And really, that's the most important thing for a grade 9 program, I think, is students. And now, again, I'm thinking of math, but I want students to have enjoyed their math program, to look forward to taking it in grade 10, and to see themselves as people who are going to do math in the future. And I'm sure every subject would say that as well. So.
Awesome. Yeah, it's not like you can expect every student to, become a mathematician 4 years down the line, but at least they're leaving their class having learned the foundations and I guess the important applications of the curriculum.
Yeah. So the challenge of their grade 9 year is not necessarily, which level of math or English or history do I want to take, but it's I'm in this new building, I'm in this new environment, I'm making new friend groups, I want to get everything out of high school that I can, and we can focus on that. It can be it's really now a transition year, and then in grade 10 they can make informed decisions based on two things really. Where do they see themselves going? And maybe they don't know, and that's okay. Then they've got to be a little bit more flexible, or they can reflect on how did I do in my grade 9 math class? Did I enjoy it? And from there, where do I want to go in grade 10?
Gotcha. That makes complete sense.
I was going to say, it's actually really cool to see that they're actually putting an emphasis on the students more focusing on transitioning into high school rather than worrying about, okay, I'm doing academics, so that means I'm stuck in this path, or I'm doing applied, so I'm stuck in this path, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting to actually see that they're putting that emphasis and letting them, they're acknowledging the struggles that comes with going from elementary to high school, and going into a new building, navigating new peers, and the stressors that may come with that. And kind of in a way, I guess I see the perspective of trying to eliminate a stressor of academic and applied by de-streaming.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think so much of the high school experience, both even from an academic sense, is navigating your social life. Even within the realm of academia, how you're doing outside of that is it says there's no battery. Okay. Oh. Anyways, continuing on. So much of this is so awkward. So much of the high school experience, even from an academic context, is based on how you're doing socially.
Yeah.
So if you can, just let students develop the tools that they need to figure out how they're doing, settle down, and then commit to their education in a way that's not stress inducing, then that just makes makes school better for everyone.
I agree.
With all that being said, Duncan, thank you very much for your time. The perspective that you offered on this was super helpful.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks for joining this episode. I feel like it was a really robust conversation and we learned a lot.
Honestly, I've genuinely learned a lot. I'm reflecting a lot on my own high school experience too and seeing how it's changing now. Kind of curious to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, awesome. Well, with that being said, take care everyone.
Till then, bye!
Bye.